Hi and welcome. I'm Midnight Truth, and it's so nice to have you here tonight, wherever you are right now. Whether you're in bed, lie on the couch, or just looking for a quiet moment, I want you to know this time is for you. Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe out, feel the weight of the day start to fade. Let your mind settle, let your body relax, and let yourself simply be. There's no rush, no pressure, just this calm, quiet moment. If you like, you can close your eyes and imagine yourself in a peaceful place. Maybe it's a cozy room with soft, warm lighting. Or maybe it's under a starry sky, with a gentle breeze brushing against you. Wherever you feel safe and calm, let yourself drift there. I know many of you use these stories to fall asleep. So before we begin, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also, where are you from and what time is it there? Tonight's story is gentle and soothing, perfect to carry you into a deep, restful sleep. So settle in, get comfortable, and let's begin. I pulled into the driveway just as dusk settled, the sky a bruised purple. The house was old, taller than it needed to be, with narrow windows and a roof that sagged like it was tired. I'd found it online, a steal for price, and after the divorce chewed up my savings, cheap was the goal. New town, new job, new me. That's what I told myself. The moving van idled behind me, and I grabbed a box labeled dishes to haul inside. The front door stuck, groaning when I shoved it open. A stale smell hit me, old wood and something sour, like spilled milk gone bad. The floors creaked under my boots, loud and sharp, echoing in the empty space. I flicked on the lights. They buzzed, casting a dim glow over peeling wallpaper and a staircase that twisted up into shadow. It wasn't cozy, but it was mine. A fresh start. I spent the night unpacking basics. Pots, a lamp, a sleeping bag since the bed wasn't set up. The house groaned around me, pipes rattling when I ran the sink. Around 10, I crashed on the living room floor, the sleeping bag scratchy but warm. A faint knocking started, soft like branches on a window. I figured it was the wind. Old places like this always had noises. Next morning, I met Mr. Ellis. He lived across the street, a wiry guy with a limp and a cigarette dangling from his lips. I was dragging boxes off the van when he hobbled over. "You're the new one, huh?" he said, squinting at me. "Yeah, moved in yesterday." "I'm Claire," I said, brushing dust off my jeans. He nodded, eyeing the house. "Been a while since anyone stayed there. Hope you're not the skittish type." His tone was dry, like he was joking, but his eyes weren't. I smirked. Takes more than creaky floors to scare me. He took a drag, exhaling slow. Last tenant didn't think so. Bolted after a week, raving about doors opening on their own, voices at night. Said the place was wrong. Of course, he was half drunk most days. He shrugged and limped back to his porch, leaving me with a weird itch in my gut. I shook it off. Small towns love gossip. It's practically a sport. I spent the day settling in, unpacking clothes, setting up Wi-Fi. My new job at the bakery started Monday, and I wanted to feel normal before then. Routine was my anchor after the mess with Tom. That night, I cooked ramen on the stove, the hiss of boiling water cutting through the quiet. The knocking came again, sharper this time, from upstairs. I paused, chopsticks hovering. Probably pipes, I told myself. Old plumbing's loud. After dinner, I explored a bit. The house had quirks. Crooked door frames, a faint mildew smell in the hall, a light switch that sparked. Upstairs, there were 3 rooms, a bedroom, a bathroom, and a locked door at the end of the hall. No key, just a rusty knob that wouldn't budge. I figured it was storage, maybe sealed off. Didn't bother me, less to clean. In the sleeping bag that night, I drifted off fast. The day's work pulling me under. But around 3 a.m., I woke to a click, soft metallic, like a latch turning. My eyes snapped open, heart kicking up. The house was still, but the air felt off, cooler, heavier. Then I heard it, a slow creak, like a door easing open, somewhere upstairs. I lay there listening, waiting for more. Nothing came, just the house, breathing in the dark. The first week flew by. I started at the bakery Monday, kneading dough and icing pastries till my hands ached. It was hard work, but I liked the smell of yeast and sugar, the chatter of customers. It kept me busy, kept my mind off the divorce and the empty house waiting for me. I'd get home each night, feet sore and collapse into the sleeping bag. Still no bed, but I'd order one online. Routine was my lifeline, and I clung to it. The house, though, didn't settle as easy. The creaks were constant, floorboards popping like they were stretching, walls groaning when the wind picked up. That sour smell lingered, sharper in some spots, like behind the locked door upstairs. I'd catch it walking by, a whiff of something damp and old. Probably mold, I figured. Old houses like this always had issues. By Wednesday, I'd gotten used to the knocking. It came every night, faint taps from upstairs, pipes or branches. I told myself I'd turn up the TV to cover it. Some dumb reality show drowning out the sound. Thursday, I finally got the bed frame up, dragging the mattress upstairs. It felt good to sleep off the floor, even if the room echoed every step I took. Friday, I saw Mr. Ellis again. He was raking leaves in his yard, cigarette glowing as the sun dipped low. I waved, hauling groceries inside. "Settling in all right?" he called, voice rough. "Yeah, it's growing on me," I said, balancing a bag of apples. "Noisy, though. Keeps me up sometimes." He paused, leaning on the rake. "Noisy, huh? That tenant I mentioned," he said the same. Thought it was footsteps, doors creaking. Kept muttering about 3 a.m. like it meant something. He flicked ash into grass. Old houses play tricks, I suppose. I forced a laugh. "Yeah, probably just the pipes. I'll live." He didn't smile, just went back to raking. I carried the groceries in, his words sticking like burrs. Footsteps? Doors? I'd heard that creak at 3 a.m., but it was nothing, just the house shifting. Still, it nagged at me as I cooked dinner. Spaghetti, sauce bubbling on the stove. The knocking started early that night, sharper, like something tapping glass. I checked the windows, all shut tight. Weird, but not worth losing sleep over. Later, in bed, I scroll my phone, the room dark except for the screen. Around midnight, the lights flickered. Just once, a quick stutter. I glanced up, waiting. They held steady, buzzing faintly. Power surge, maybe, but then I heard it. A slow, heavy thud from upstairs, like a book hitting the floor. My chest tightened. I set the phone down, listening. Another thud, softer, then silence. I grabbed a flashlight from the nightstand, one-eyed off outages, and crept into the hall. The air was cooler up here, a draft I couldn't place. The locked door loomed at the end, knob glinting in the beam. The thuds had come from that direction, I was sure. I tiptoed closer, floor creaking under me, and pressed my ear to the wood. Nothing, just the hum of the house. Faint and steady. I tried the knob again. Still locked. Back in bed. I brushed it off. Boxes settling. Maybe I'd stack some up there, but as I drifted off, the knocking picked up, rhythmic and close, like fingers on the wall. I pulled the blanket higher, telling myself it was normal. Old houses make noise. That's all. Saturday morning. I woke to sunlight, the room warm and quiet. The night felt like a bad dream, easy to shake off with coffee in hand. But as I sipped it, I couldn't ignore the itch. That locked door was hiding something, and I wasn't sure I wanted to know what. Work kept me sane that week. The bakery was busy, people grabbing bread for weekend picnics, kids begging for cookies. I liked the rhythm, the heat of the ovens, the chatter. It pushed the house to the back of my mind. But every night, I come home to those creaks and taps, the sour smell seeping through the cracks. I blast music, cook something quick, and try to pretend it was normal. It almost worked. Tuesday night, I noticed the cold spots. I was in the kitchen, washing dishes, when a chill hit me, like stepping into a walk-in freezer. My breath puffed out, faint and white, and goosebumps prickled my arms. I turned off the tap, looking around. The windows were shut, no breeze. I stepped away, and the air warmed up like I'd walked out of a bubble. It was gone so fast, I almost laughed. Old houses, weird drafts. Wednesday, it happened again. I was in bed, reading on my phone, When the cold swept over me, the blanket felt thin, my fingers stiffening. I sat up, watching my breath fog in the dim light. It lasted maybe a minute, then faded, leaving me shaky. I checked the heater, running fine. Maybe a vent was clogged. I'd deal with it later. Thursday night got stranger. I'd fallen asleep early, exhausted from a double shift, when a loud creak woke me. My eyes snapped open, clock glowing 3:02 a.m. The sound came again, slow, deliberate, like a door swinging on rusty hinges. I grabbed a flashlight, heart thumping, and crept into the hall. The air was icy, stinging my bare feet. The locked door stood there, shut tight, but the creak echoed from behind it, sharp and clear. I stood frozen, beam on the knob. It didn't move, didn't rattle, just sat there mocking me. The creak stopped, silence pressing in. I backed away, telling myself it was a house settling. But as I climbed into bed, the knocking started, soft, insistent, right above me. I stared at the ceiling, waiting. It faded after a few minutes, leaving me wide awake till dawn. Friday, I caught Mr. Ellis outside, watering his patchy lawn. I waved, trying to sound casual. "Hey, you ever hear about cold spots in that house?" I asked, leaning on the fence. He turned off the hose, squinting at me. "Cold spots?" "Yeah, the drunk I mentioned that. Said it'd freeze him out of nowhere, even in July. Thought something was breathing down his neck." He snorted, probably the booze talking. "Maybe," I said, forcing a smile. "Just curious." He shrugged. "Old places got quirks. Keep the heat on if it bothers you." He went back to watering, but his words stuck. Breathing down his neck? I'd felt that chill, sharp and close. It wasn't just drafts. That night, I stayed up late, too wired to sleep. Around 1 a.m., the lights flickered, quick, then steady. I ignored it, scrolling my phone. But at 3 a.m., the creak came again, louder, slower, like something heavy pushed that door open. I grabbed the flashlight and stormed upstairs. Fed up, the hall was dark, the cold hitting me halfway down. I shone the light on the locked door. Still shut, knob still rusty. But the air pulsed, thick and cool like a heartbeat. I tried the knob, locked, as always. The creak stopped, but the knocking picked up, fast, frantic, inside the wall. My chest tightened. I backed off, light shaking, and hurried downstairs. Pipes. I muttered, voice thin. Just pipes. Saturday morning. I woke to sunlight, the house quiet, but the cold lingered in my bones, and that door felt like it was watching me. I couldn't keep brushing this off. I couldn't let it go anymore. Saturday morning. I sat at the kitchen table, coffee cold, staring at the ceiling where the knocking had been. The creaks at 3 a.m., the cold spots. It wasn't just an old house anymore. Mr. Ellis's stories about the last tenant gnawed at me. Doors opening, voices, something wrong. I needed to know what I'd moved into. After breakfast, I went across the street. Mr. Ellis was on his porch, rocking in a creaky chair, cigarette smoldering. "Morning," I said, climbing the steps. "Got a minute?" He squinted at me. "You're jumpy. What's up?" "I want to know more about the house. You said the last guy heard stuff. Who lived there before him?" He took a drag, exhaling slow. "Before the drunk? Was a widow, Mrs. Agnes Poole. Lived there decades ago. 50s, maybe 60s. Kept to herself, didn't mingle. Folks said she was odd. Talked to herself, had strange books. Died in there, I think. Stroke or something. House sat empty after that till renters came." He flicked Ash over the railing. "Why? You hearing voices too?" I hesitated. "Just noises. Creaks, knocks. Trying to figure it out." He grunted. "Could ask at the library. They've got old records. Agnes was a character. Might be something there." He went back to rocking. Done talking. I drove downtown. The library, a small brick building with dusty windows. The librarian pointed me to a stack of old newspapers and a microfiche machine. I scrolled through, hunting for Agnes Poole. Found her in a 1964 obituary. Agnes Poole, 68, found deceased in her home. Lived alone, no kin. Cause of death unknown. Sparse. But earlier articles hinted at more. Neighbors complaining about late-night muttering and flickering lights from her place. One piece mentioned her queer habits, like drawing on walls. Nothing solid, just whispers of weirdness. Back home, I couldn't shake it. Agnes and her books, her muttering. It felt too close to what I was hearing. I avoided the upstairs hall, that locked door staring me down every time I passed. I cooked dinner, chicken and rice, but every creak made me flinch. Around 9, the lights flickered again, longer this time. The air turned cold, sharp on my neck, and a thud hit upstairs, slow, heavy, like a footstep. I grabbed a flashlight, legs shaky, and climbed the stairs. The hall was dark, the cold thicker near that door. Another thud, then a scrape, like something dragged across the floor. I shone the light, hand trembling. The door was shut, but the knob glinted, wet-looking, like it had been touched. I stepped closer, breath fogging, and the creak came, slow, loud, from behind the wood. I pressed my ear to it. A low hum started, faint and buzzing, vibrating through the door. My skin crawled. I backed off, heart pounding, and the knocking kicked in, sharp, quick, inside the wall. I bolted downstairs, muttering, it's nothing, like a chant. But it wasn't nothing. It was awake. That night, I barely slept. The creak hit at 3 a.m., right on cue, followed by footsteps, soft, pacing behind that door. The cold slipped under my blanket, brushing my face, and the hum grew, threading through the dark. I stayed still, eyes wide, waiting for it to stop. It didn't. Not till dawn, when the house went quiet again. Sunday morning, I found a smudge on the hall floor, dark, sticky, leading to that door. I hadn't left it there. Something had. I couldn't pretend anymore. That smudge on the floor, dark, tacky, like old blood, stared at me all Sunday morning. I scrubbed it with bleach, but the stain lingered, faint and stubborn. The house felt different now, heavier, like it was holding something back. The creaks, the cold, that locked door, it wasn't quirks. It was something else, and Agnes Poole's name kept circling in my head. I needed more than newspaper scraps. After lunch, I tore through the house, hunting for clues. The living room had nothing but dust and my boxes. The kitchen was bare, old linoleum and a rusty sink. Upstairs, the bedroom and bathroom were empty too. But that locked door, it pulled at me. The smudge had trailed right to it, stopping at the threshold. Whatever was happening, it was tied to that room. I grabbed a screwdriver and knelt by the door, jamming it into the lock. The knob rattled, rusty and stiff, but wouldn't give. I wedged the screwdriver under the frame, prying at the wood. It splintered and something fell, a small leather-bound book, tumbling into the hall. My heart skipped. I picked it up, hand shaky. The cover was worn, no title, just A. Poole scratched inside in spidery ink. It was a ledger, pages yellowed and brittle. I sat on the floor, flipping through. Early entries were normal, grocery lists, dates, weather notes. March 1958, rain. Bought flour. But halfway in, it changed. The door speaks at night, she wrote, dated 1960. Soft like a child, but not. My stomach twisted. Further on, it wants in. I marked the walls, kept it out. Marked the walls? Like the neighbor said? Later pages got frantic. Blood works best. One red, a drop on the threshold. It quiets, but it's hungrier now. Another. 3 a.m. is its time. I hear it turn the knob. The last entry, smudged and shaky. I can't stop it. It's here. No date, just that. I shut the book, breath short. Agnes had messed with something. Something behind that door. I shoved the ledger in a drawer downstairs. Hands cold. I cooked dinner. Soup. Something warm. But the house felt alive, watching. Around 10, the lights dimmed, buzzing loud, and the cold hit, sharp, wrapping my legs. Then the footsteps started, slow, heavy, pacing behind that door. I froze, spoon clattering. The creak came next, loud and slow, like it was opening. I grabbed the flashlight and crept upstairs. The hall was dark, air thick and icy. The door was shut, but the knob gleamed, wet again, dripping something dark onto the floor. The hum buzzed low and steady, and the knocking erupted, fast, desperate, inside the wood. My chest tightened. I backed away, lights shaking, and the creak sounded again, closer, like it had slipped through. Downstairs, I locked my bedroom door, heart hammering. The footsteps followed, thudding down the stairs, stopping outside. The knob rattled, slow and deliberate. I held my breath, waiting. It stopped, but the cold seeped under the door, brushing my feet. The hum grew, whispering something I couldn't catch, soft, insistent, like a plea. I didn't sleep. The footsteps paced all night, the knocking weaving through the walls. At 3 a.m., the creak hit again, loudest yet, and the air pulsed heavy and wet. I stayed still, flashlight on, till dawn quieted it. When I checked the hall, the smudge was back, darker, stretching further, like something had walked right through. I didn't go to work Monday. Called in sick, voice hoarse from no sleep. The ledger sat in that drawer, its words burning in my head. Blood works best. It's here. I couldn't unsee the smudge stretching down the hall. Couldn't unhear the footsteps pacing outside my door. The house wasn't just noisy, it was alive, and Agnes Poole had known it. I grabbed the ledger again, hands trembling, and reread every page. She'd mentioned marking the walls, keeping it out. I needed to see if those marks were still here. Flashlight in hand, I started downstairs. The living room wallpaper was peeling, yellowed, ugly, but no drawings. I tore a strip back, exposing plaster. Nothing. The kitchen was the same, old stains, no symbols. Upstairs, the hall felt colder, the sour smell stronger near that locked door. I ran my fingers over the walls, feeling for anything odd. The paint was chipped, but under one flake, I found it, a faint scratch. A circle was slashed through it, carved into the wood. My breath caught. I peeled more paint, revealing another, then a third, lining the hall like a barrier. Agnes's marks, small, shaky but deliberate. I stepped back, heart thudding. The ledger said blood quieted it. Had she used these too? I checked the door itself. The frame was scratched, the same symbol etched near the knob, smeared with something dark and flaking. Old blood? My stomach churned. Whatever she'd trapped, it was still here, leaking through. That night, I couldn't sit still. I cooked pasta, but every creak made me jump. Around 11, the lights flickered, longer, dimming slow. The cold hit, sharp on my face, and the footsteps started, thudding behind that door, dragging something soft. I gripped the flashlight, telling myself to stay calm. The creak came at 3 a.m., right on time. Loud, slow, like the door swung wide. I crept upstairs, the hall dark and icy. The door was shut, but the knob dripped again, dark, wet, pooling on the floor. The hum buzzed, vibrating the walls, and the knocking turned frantic, banging inside the wood. Then the floor shook, a heavy thud, right behind the door. My light caught something, a shadow, low and hunched, flickering under the gap. I stumbled back, breath shallow. The air thickened, the cold biting my hands. The shadow shifted, stretching long, and the hum turned to a whisper, soft, garbled, like a voice underwater. It rasped, faint but clear. My chest locked up. I ran downstairs, slamming my bedroom door, and shoved a chair against it. The footsteps followed, slow, thudding down the stairs, stopping outside. The knob rattled, harder this time, with groaning. The whisper came again, closer, seeping through the cracks. I clutched the flashlight, beam on the door. The cold wrapped me, my teeth chattering, and the chair scraped an inch, like something pushed. I held my ground, waiting. It stopped at dawn, the house falling silent, but the air stayed heavy. Morning light showed new scratches on my door, 3 jagged lines, fresh and deep. The smudge in the hall had spread, curling toward my room like a trail. I stood there, ledger in hand, staring at Agnes's marks. They hadn't held. Whatever she locked away was breaking through. I couldn't keep running on fumes. Tuesday morning, I stood in the hall, staring at the scratches on my door. 3 claw-like gouges, too deep for a person to make. The smudge curled closer, dark and sticky, like it was reaching for me. The ledger's words looped in my head. Blood works best. It's here. Agnes had fought something, and now it was my fight. I had to know more. I grabbed the ledger and drove to the library again. The librarian barely glanced up as I settled at the microfiche, hunting for Agnes Poole. I found a 1962 article. Local woman questioned after noise complaints. Neighbors reported chanting and scratching from her house at night. Agnes claimed it was just the wind, but police noted odd symbols on her walls. No charges, just a warning. Another piece, from 1963, mentioned her buying strange books from a dealer out of town. It fit her ledger, the marks, the blood. Back home, I avoided the hall. The air felt wrong, cooler, thicker, like it was waiting. I sat in the kitchen, ledger open, reading late entries. It scratches at 3, she wrote. I gave it a drop, my thumb pricked. It stopped, but not long. Another, it's low bent. I see it in the dark. My skin prickled. That shadow under the door, was that it? The last page chilled me. The door opened for it. I can't lock it out. I slammed the book shut. She'd fed it blood, marked the walls, but it broke through anyway. Had she died fighting it? I needed to see that room. I grabbed a hammer from a box. Screwdriver was enough and marched upstairs. The locked door loomed, knob slicked with that dark drip. I swung the hammer, with splintering around the lock. The air pulsed, cold and sharp, pushing back. I hit again, harder, and the door cracked open an inch. Darkness spilled out, thick and sour, the smell gagging me. I shone the flashlight, dusty floor, bare walls, a single chair tipped over. Scratches covered everything, circles and slashes, frantic and deep. In the corner, a small mirror cracked, reflected my light. I stepped closer, heart pounding. My face stared back, pale and wide-eyed, but something flickered, low, hunched behind me. I spun, light slashed in the room. Empty, just a chair and scratches. My breath fogged, the cold biting my face. The hum started, low, buzzing, vibrating the floor. I backed out, hammer slipping in my grip, and the door slammed shut, hard, rattling the frame. The knob turned, slow and wet, locking itself. That night, it came alive. At 3 a.m., the creak hit, loud, tearing through the house. Footsteps thudded in that room, fast and heavy, shaking the ceiling. The hum roared, whispering. In, sharp and overlapping. I locked my bedroom door, chair brace, but the cold seeped in, frosting the glass. The scratches on my door groaned, like they were growing. Something tapped, soft, on my window. I swung the light. Nothing outside, just night. But the tap came again, inside the wall, then the floor. The air thickened, the bed creaked, like something sat, light and slow. I froze, beam shaking. The whisper rasped. In, right by my ear, wet and close. I bolted up, light swinging. Empty, but the blanket was dented, damp. I didn't sleep. The footsteps circled till dawn, the hum fading with the light. The scratches on my door were longer, curling down. It wasn't locked anymore. It was loose. I couldn't just wait for it anymore. Wednesday morning, I stood in my room, staring at the scratches. Longer now, curling like fingers down the door. The damp dent in my blanket hadn't dried, and that whisper, in, still echoed in my ears. Agnes's ledger was clear. She fought it with blood and marks, slowed it with symbols. I wasn't ready to bleed, but I could try the rest. I drove to the store, bought salt and chalk, old tricks I'd seen in movies. Felt stupid, but the scratches kept me moving. Back home, I drew her symbol, circle with a slash, on every doorframe, every window, chalk squeaking as I went. I poured salt along the sills, a shaky line around my bed. The house stayed quiet, but the air felt tight, like it was watching. I sat in the kitchen, ledger open, reading her notes again. Saul holds it back, she wrote. Light burns it sometimes. I swapped every bulb for the brightest I could find. Harsh white, buzzing loud. By dusk, the place glowed, salt crunching under my feet. I gripped the flashlight, waiting, telling myself it'd work. Around midnight, the footsteps started, thudding in that room, slow and heavy. The hum kicked in, buzzing through the walls, and the lights flickered, quick, then steady. The cold hit, sharp on my neck, but the salt line shimmered, holding. I stayed downstairs, heart pounding. The creak came at 3 a.m., loud, tearing like the door ripped open. The footsteps moved, down the hall, down the stairs. I backed into the living room, flashlight shaking. The lights dimmed, shadows twisting long and wrong. The hum turned to whispers, in, hissing from the dark. I swung the light, catching a flicker, low, hunched by the stairs. The salt line that was smudged, scattered. It stepped closer, dark and bent, edges blurry but solid, like wet clay. The air stank, sour, thick, choking me. I grabbed the salt bag, throwing handfuls. It hit the thing, crystal sticking, and it flinched, the hum stuttering. The lights flared, blinding, and it was gone, just salt and silence. I sank to the floor, panting, chalked dust on my hands. The lines held downstairs, but upstairs, I heard it, thuds, scratches, pacing behind that door. I locked myself in the bedroom, chair against the knob. The cold slipped in anyway, brushing my arms. The whispers came in, soft, insistent, weaving through the walls. The bed creaked, a light dipped by my feet. I swung the light. Nothing, but the blanket shifted, damp again. The scratches on the door groaned, stretching wider, and the knob rattled, slow, wet, like it was testing me. I threw more salt, redrew the symbol on the door. The rattling stopped, the cold fading, but the hum lingered, faint and stubborn. I sat against the wall, flashlight on, waiting for dawn. The footsteps circled upstairs, the knocking sharp and quick. At one point, the mirror in the corner flickered, my face, then something low and dark behind me. I didn't look back. Morning came, quiet and gray. The salt lines were smudged, the chalk smeared. New scratches marked the bedroom walls, small, fresh, near the bed. The ledger's tricks worked, barely. It wasn't stopping. It was learning. I was breaking. Thursday morning, I sat on the bed, staring at the new scratches, small, jagged, inches from where I'd slept. The salt lines were a mess, smudged like something had dragged through them. The chalk symbols on the walls looked faded, weaker, and that damp spot on the blanket hadn't dried. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Coffee spilled when I tried to pour it, splashing the counter. I hadn't slept more than an hour in days. Work was out of the question. I'd called in sick again, voice cracking, and the bakery didn't push. I sounded like a wreck because the ledger sat open, Agnes's words mocking me. Salt holds it back, light burns it. It wasn't holding anymore. The thing behind that door was stronger, smarter, wearing me down. I redrew the symbols, poured fresh salt, but it felt pointless, like mopping in a flood. Around noon, the knocking started, soft, steady, from upstairs. Not at 3 a.m., not at night, daylight now, bold and wrong. I froze, cup in hand, listening. It came from that room, tap, 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 like nails on wood. The air chilled, my breath fogging in the kitchen. I grabbed the flashlight, creeping upstairs. The hall was dark, the cold thick near that door. The knob gleamed wet and dark, dripping onto the floor. The knocking stopped when I got close, silence pressing in. I shone the light. New scratches circled the frame, deep and fresh, cutting through Agnes's old marks. The hum buzzed, faint but alive, vibrating the wood. I backed off, heart racing, and the creak hit, slow, loud, like the door cracked open. I didn't wait, ran downstairs, locking my bedroom door, chair braced tight. That night, it didn't wait for 3. At 10, the footsteps thudded, fast, erratic, shaking the ceiling. The hum roared, rattling the walls, and the lights flickered, popping out one by one. I clutched the flashlight, salt bag in my lap. The cold swept in, frosting the windows, and the whisper started in, sharp, circling me, The salt line shimmered, but the air pulsed, pushing back. The bed creaked, hard, like something heavy dropped onto it. I swung the light. Nothing, just a dent, deep and wet, sinking the mattress. The weight shifted, pressing my legs, cold seeping through the blanket. The whisper rasped in, wet and close, right by my ear. I threw salt, handfuls flying, and the weight lifted, the hum faltering. The light snapped back, dim and buzzing. But it wasn't done. The footsteps moved, down the hall, down the stairs, thumping outside my door. The knob rattled, with splintering, and the scratches groaned, stretching wide. I redrew the symbol, hands clumsy, chalk snapping in half. The rattling stopped, but the cold stayed, brushing my neck. The mirror flickered again, my face, then that low, bent shape, closer now, hunched behind me. I didn't sleep. The knocking wove through the night. Walls, floor, ceiling, tap, 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 relentless. At 3 a.m., the creak tore through, loud as yet, and the footsteps circled my room, fast and heavy. The whisper hissed, over and over, a dozen voices piling up. The bed dipped again, lighter like it was testing me. I sat there, light on, salt crumbling in my fists, till dawn silenced it. Friday morning, I found the ledger open on the floor, pages torn, Agnes's last words scratched out. The scratches on my walls were everywhere now, curling toward me. It wasn't stopping. It was winning. Friday night broke me. I hadn't slept, hadn't eaten. Just sat there, salt in my fists, watching the scratches spread. The ledger's torn pages lay scattered, Agnes's warning shredded. The house wasn't hiding it anymore. Every creak, every hum felt like a threat. I'd tried her tricks, salt, symbols, light, but they were failing, and that thing behind the door was done waiting. I stayed in the bedroom, door locked, chair braced. Around 9, the footsteps started, thudding upstairs heavy and fast, shaking dust from the ceiling. The hum roared, buzzing my skull, and the lights flickered, dying out, plunging me into black. I clicked the flashlight on, beam trembling. The cold hit sharp and deep, frost in my breath. The whispers came, in, loud, overlapping, claw at my ears. The door rattled, hard with cracking. I gripped the salt, heart slamming. The chair scraped, sliding an inch, then another. The scratches on the walls groaned, stretching long, and the knob turned slow, wet, dripping dark onto floor. The creak tore through at 3 a.m., loud final, like the locked door upstairs burst wide. Footsteps raced down the hall, thudding closer. The bedroom door buckled, splintering, and the cold poured in, stinging my face. I threw salt at it, crystal scattering, but the hum didn't falter. The air thickened, stinking of sour rot, and the bed sank, heavy, sudden, right beside me. I swung the light, beam catching it. Low, bent, dark and slick, like wet earth molded into shape. No face, just a hollow tilt, leaning toward me. The whisper rasped, deep and grinding, vibrating my chest. The air burned cold, my lungs seizing. It moved, slow, deliberate, reaching a long, dripping arm. I screamed, scrambling back, salt flying. The light hit it square, and it flinched, the hum stuttering, but it didn't stop. The arm brushed my leg, wet, icy, sinking into my skin. I kicked, thrashing, and rolled off the bed, flashlight clattering. The door crashed open, chair tumbling. I ran, down the stairs, tripping over salt, the hum chasing me. The thing followed, thuds shaking the floor, whispers roaring, Ian. I hit the living room, grabbing my keys, and bolted outside. The night air slapped me, clean and sharp, but the cold clung, wrapping my throat. I stumbled to the truck, fumbling the lock, and peeled out, tires screeching. I drove blind, town lights blurring past. The hum faded, the cold lifting, but my leg burned where it touched me. Numb, tingling like frostbite. I stopped at a gas station, panting, hands shaking on the wheel. The rear view was empty, no shadows, no shapes. I sat there, chest heaving, waiting for it to follow. Nothing came. But as I caught my breath, a tap started soft on the windshield. I froze, eyes locked ahead. It tapped again, steady, and the hum buzzed, faint, threading through the glass. I didn't look. Couldn't. I floored it, speeding toward the highway, headlights cutting the dark. The tap stopped, the hum trailing off, but my legs still ached, cold and wrong. I didn't go back. Couldn't. Whatever Agnes let in, it had me now. I didn't stop driving till dawn. The highway stretched endless, dark fields blurring past, the truck's engine a steady growl. My leg throbbed where that thing touched me, cold, numb, like it had left something behind. The tap on the windshield had stopped, the hum gone. But I couldn't shake the feeling it was still there, trailing me in the shadows. I needed distance, safety, anything but that house. Saturday morning, I pulled into a motel 2 towns over. The clerk took my cash, didn't ask about my stained jeans or wild eyes. I locked the room, drew the curtains, and collapsed on the bed, flashlight clutched tight. The air smelled of bleach and stale smoke, normal, human. My phone was back at the house, lost with a ledger and salt, but I didn't care. I just wanted quiet. I slept hard, exhaustion dragging me under. No dreams, no creaks, just black. But at 3 a.m., I jolted awake, heart racing. The room was still, air warm, but my leg ached, sharp, icy, like a needle under the skin. Then I heard it, a soft tap on the window. My breath caught. I fumbled for the flashlight, beams slicing the dark. The curtains hung still, no movement outside. The tap came again, faint but there. I crept over, peering through a crack. The parking lot glowed under a streetlight. Empty, quiet. No shadows, no shapes. I locked the window tighter, chalking it up to nerves. But as I turned, the hum started, low, buzzing, seeping from the walls. My stomach dropped. I swung the light. Nothing, just peeling paint and a cheap mirror. The hum faded, the tap stopped. But my leg pulsed, cold spreading up my calf. I didn't stay. Packed my bag, hit the road again. Drove to another motel, farther out, and checked in at noon. The clerk there was chatty, but I barely answered, eyes darting to the windows. I salted the sills. Habit now, even without the ledger, and kept the lights on. Mr. Ellis crossed my mind. He'd known about Agnes, the rumors. Maybe he'd have answers. But going back meant facing that house, and I couldn't. That night, I stayed awake, flashlight on my lap. No taps, no hum, just silence, thick and heavy. I dozed off near dawn, waking to sunlight. My legs still hurt, skin pale where it had touched me, veins faintly blue. I showered, ate vending machine junk, tried to feel normal. But the quiet felt wrong, like it was waiting to break. Sunday, I called Mr. Ellis from a payphone. He picked up, voice gruff. "Claire, you sound off. Where you at?" "Left the house," I said, throat tight. "Something's in there. Real, not noises. It got me. I ran." He paused, then sighed. "Agnes's mess, huh? She stirred up something bad. Books, blood, that door. Folks said it stuck to her, even after she died. You might have woke it. How do I stop it?" I asked, voice cracking. "Dunno. Burn it. Maybe. Or keep running. If it's got your scent, though, it's tricky." He hung up, leaving me hollow. I didn't burn it. Couldn't face it again. I stayed at the motel, lights on, salt ready. That night, at 3 a.m., the tap came, soft, on the door. The hum buzzed, faint and close. I didn't move, just watched the shadows, waiting for it to pass. It did, but my leg throbbed, cold creeping higher. It wasn't over. It had followed. I couldn't stay in one place. Monday morning, I left the motel, truck rattling as I hit the road again. My leg ached, cold, stiff, the pale patch spreading up my calf like a bruise that wouldn't fade. The tap on the door, the hum in the walls. They followed me, soft but stubborn. I'd salted every room, kept the lights on, but it didn't matter. Whatever Agnes woke behind that door had my scent, like Mr. Ellis said. I drove all day, no plan, just miles. Ended up in a cheap hotel 3 states over, paying cash for a room with cracked plaster and a flickering lamp. I salted the windows, drew Agnes's symbol, circle with a slash, on the door with a marker. It felt useless, but I had to try. The clerk didn't blink at my shaky hands or the salt bag under my arm. I locked myself in, flashlight on the bed, and waited. Sleep came in fits, shallow, restless. At 3 a.m., the tap started, soft, on the window. My eyes snapped open, breath fogging the warm room. The hum buzzed, low and steady, threading through the walls. I grabbed the flashlight, beam cutting the dark. The curtains hung still, but the tap kept going, tap, 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 like fingers testing glass. I didn't look. Couldn't. I redrew the symbol, sprinkled more salt, and it stopped, the hum fading. Tuesday, I kept moving. Another town, another motel. My leg burned now, cold creeping to my knee, skin mottled in blue. I bought bandages, wrapped it tight, but the chill stayed, sinking deeper. I ate gas station food, drank coffee till my hand shook worse, and watched the mirrors. Every reflection flickered sometimes, my face, then a low, bent shape, gone when I blinked. Wednesday night, I tried to end it. Drove back to the house, parking a block away. It squatted there, dark and silent, windows like dead eyes. My chest tightened, but I grabbed matches and a gas can from the truck. The door creaked open, air thick with that sour rot. I poured gas in the living room, splashing the walls, the stairs. The scratches were everywhere now, curling, deep, covering the house like a web. I struck a match, dropped it, and ran. Flames roared up, smoke choking the sky. I sped off, sirens wailing behind me. The house burned. News said it was ash by morning. No cause found. I wanted it gone, wanted that door buried. But my legs still throbbed, cold climbing higher, and the hum followed. Faint, persistent. In every room I slept in, weeks passed, motels blending together. I stopped salting, stopped drawing symbols. Didn't help. At 3 a.m., the tap came. Windows, doors, mirrors, soft, patient. The hum wove through whispering, in low and wet, brushing my ear. Shadows flickered, low, bent, always behind me, vanishing when I turned. One night, I woke to the cold, sharp, wrapping my chest. My leg was numb, blue to the thigh. The mirror glowed, my reflection gone. Just that shape, dark, slick, leaning close. The tap hit the glass, steady, and hum buzzed in my bones. I ran again, but it's here, everywhere. The house is gone, but it's not. It's in me, waiting. And somewhere, that lot sits empty. The door shadow lingering for the next one to turn the knob.